and ask for you to send them. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Linda to you again. Linda has been providing this for us. This is the third lesson. It's absolutely fantastic information. And tonight, if you are looking to be able to buy properties without having money, this is the information for you. So Linda, take it away.
All right, great. Well, welcome back, everybody. We're in for the third and maybe last session here. Hope you have some paper and pencil because you're going to want to take some notes on this. But otherwise, just kind of be with everything. And we're going to cover a lot of subjects. As always, if you have any questions, please submit them in the chat room and we'll stop periodically so I can get some of those questions answered. Here we go here. Let's see. Good. So we've talked about a lot of subjects up until now. So tonight, let's start with how to walk through a property. So let's assume you've done your marketing, you've talked to people, now you want to go look at a property and decide, is it a good deal or is it not a good deal? Now, notice I say how to walk through a property. All of this could be done by video camera. I've gotten contractor estimates from a contractor halfway across America by using iPhones and FaceTime and all those things. We have great technology these days. But so when I say walk through, just take that kind of literally, okay? So the most important thing is that you want to have a system because Jackie, Leslie, Kathy, we're all active rehabbers and they can tell you can waste a whole lot of time in going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth to a property. The best thing to do is to find out what is it going to cost, get your measurements from the very first visit that you're there so you're not wasting a lot of time, and then save that information because sometimes people don't take your first offer. Sometimes it'll take several months of follow-up to get that low price that you really, really want. So you don't want to lose your notes. Put them, organize everything so you can go back and do them. So, all right, so when you're walking around doing the exterior, you're going to be checking out the condition of siding, the veneer of the building, the roof, chimney, the condition of the lawn, especially on rainy days. Is it flooding or is it working out okay? Binoculars are really good so that you can see the top of the roof and see the chimney to see what kind of condition they're in. And then lastly, these two things are very expensive, septic and well. And you have to make sure there's enough space between the septic and the well in case you have to replace one of them. Because we had a student who just barely squeezed, he had to put in a new septic system. He had just barely enough room on that lot to put that septic in there because it has to be a certain distance. And then buried oil tank. You do not want to pay for a buried oil tank. You want to find out from the fire department if it's been removed. If not, put it in the contract that the seller is going to take care of the cost because that could be a couple $100 or it could be $20,000. Very, very expensive for each one of those things. So take note of those. And let's see here. Now, once you've walked around the house, you want to go into the systems area, wherever that might be. I'm from the Northeast, so we have lots of basements. You may not have that. But you want to look at what the mechanicals are. Take lots and lots and lots of pictures. By the way, even if you don't know what you're talking about, take pictures because you can always bring them to whoever you want to consult with about what it's going to cost to do this. Okay, that makes sense? So in the basement or the systems area, you want to examine all the mechanicals and you want to look for obvious wear and tear. But take photos and write notes of the electrical box. There's an electrical box. You want to see if you can figure out how many amps it's got. Is it a 100 amp? Is it 200 amp? Or gosh forbid that it's actually fuses. That definitely is going to have to get changed. How old is the HVAC systems? How long do they last in your area, and are they going to be needed to be replaced? If you can take a picture of the label that's on there and the service, you know, whoever last serviced the item, that's really good, useful information too. Check for plumbing and sanitation. Are there leaks? Is there any evidence of, is there any evidence at all of frozen pipes and all of that? So you definitely want to check on that. And then structural. You want to just see, is the floor level or not? If the floor is not level, that's a good indication. There might be a structural issue. If it's open out to the studs, you can see if there's problems with, the vertical structure. So, but you want to see, is there a problem? Because I can tell you how I know this. it can be really, really expensive, and you want to avoid those things or negotiate a super low price. By the way, some of these items look awful, but they really don't cost that much to repair. But you can say, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to replace this septic tank, and it's going to cost me $20,000, and it sounds legit, but maybe you can get it done for under $5, you know, depending on the situation. So, but these are the things you want to take notes of there. And okay, the one key thing about your inspections is you want to go around twice. The first time to get the lay of the land, but the second you want to look up, and then you also want to look down. Now, being vertically challenged as I am, 5'1", it's easy for me to look down, and I often miss things that are up on the ceiling. So it's definitely important to look up on the ceiling. And when you're walking around, especially with the owner, and you happen to see some discoloration in the ceiling, you don't have to badmouth or embarrass the owner. You just have to look up, and then the owner will tell you, oh yeah, we had a leak there, but you know, it got fixed. And then you can start asking questions. You definitely want to notice each and everything you can. And then we give you a form that says you can check off what's good, what's bad, and what's missing, so that you have a form to go back to and keep track of all of that. Now on the interior, again, you want to look up and you want to look down. You want to look at the ceilings, the floors. If you have any radiators, you're looking for splits, and bathrooms and kitchens. There's a good saying around most of us rehabbers that the worse it smells, the more money we're going to make, right? Because and we're dealing with one right now where really bad dog issue, really bad dog issue, and probably going to have to rip up the entire floors. That's extreme, but sometimes it's only one area where the cats or the dogs went, but it's something you got to deal with. And again, these are things that you can play up to be really expensive, but might not be. Really important to note the measurements of each room. It doesn't take that long. Bring a friend with you with a measuring tape. Bring a friend. That same friend can take lots of pictures, and then you take lots of notes. But make a note of everything right there. Okay. I try to, this is kind of a repeat, but it is a repeat completely, but you want to have a system for going through the house. Some of these houses are humongous. You know, if you got a 4,000 to 6,000 square foot house, the house I auctioned off, it was, I don't know, I think 6,000 square feet above and 3,000 square feet in the basement. And I kept getting lost. I finally drew a map to find my way around this house. So try to be as organized as you can. If you have graph paper, remember graph paper from school, get that graph paper out and just sketch in what you're looking at. That'll help you also. Now, some of the women here were talking about this earlier. What is the #1 source of property damage? And it is, drum roll, water. That can be the most destructive item on the planet. And I used to totally ignore it, but it comes to bite you all the time. So you're looking for evidence of leaks. If you're going through an occupied house, that's easier. But if it's a vacant house, and if it's been vacant over the winter time, I know you're in the South, but I also know you have freezes. So, you know, the pipes could have burst, the pipes could have burst in the walls. If you have radiators, there could be splits in the radiators. There could be evidence of damaged flooring for it. You can look at flooding. There was one house I was looking at, and it happened to be on a rainy day, and the water table was so high, the water came right into the door in the basement right out there. So these are issues that do need to be dealt with. They can cause sinking of the house. It could cause a split in the basement of a condo that we renovated. So this is very serious. Don't skip over it. I'll show you an example of what to look for in something else. Now, if you use our estimation form, that's great. If not, have your own where you can take pictures, you sketch it out, and then you say good, bad, missing, and then write a couple notes. It shouldn't take you more than an hour to walk through a house, by the way. So that's the walkthrough period. Now, once you've got your notes, you're going to go back home. Now you're going to want to estimate materials, how much it's going to cost. So you make a list of the materials you will need. Now, if you are brand spanking new, don't worry about it. Make a list of everything you see. You know, you've lived in a house, you've lived in an apartment. Make a list of everything that you might see. You can always double check this with a contractor or an experienced investor to find out. but make a list of all the materials you will need. My advice is to use material calculators to estimate the cost of materials. So Lowe's and Home Depot both have calculators for paint and cement and HVAC and all those things that will help you figure out how much in the materials you'll need. Your flooring, how much flooring will you need? And then also how much it might cost. And then once you've made a list of all those things, now it's time to go shopping. And the better you are, so people who love to go shopping, stereotypically it's women love to go shopping. This is a time for you to spend money and make money at the same time. So you want to shop and ask for bargains, and I want to give you a couple of hints on that right now. So let's see here. This screen is kind of funky. Let me go back here. So number one is to visit supply houses. So any supply houses that cater to contractors, like windows, roofing, siding, even HVAC, even furnaces, you can negotiate very low prices. Now, sometimes you have to have a contractor's license for them to talk to you, but make friends with contractors, you do the shopping and then get them to make the order and then you pay for the order. But these are really great places if you're going to buy in bulk, right? That most people don't know about. If you're going to go into big box stores like Lowe's and Home Depot in particular, but whatever else is in your area, there are seasonal bargains. So if you turned out to be a rehabber, whether it's for buy and hold or buy, fix and sell, and you're doing this in bulk, just know that there are times when it's a really good time to buy cabinets. So I happened to buy 4 apartments worth of kitchen cabinets and bathroom cabinets, and I was doing it in August, and I saved so much money. It was incredible on the cabinets, and then they threw in all the hardware, which was another couple $1,000 for free. So you want to find that out. Secondly, look at the end caps, the materials that are hanging out at the end of the row of the shopping row, you know, where they now have arrows telling you which direction you should be walking through the store. That's where they have their closeouts, where they're moving things out. And a lot of times you can pick things up for 50 cents on the dollar, 25 cents on the dollar, and that's going to fit with you, right? Also, here's a trick that not a lot of people know. A lot of these stores have a system for saying, okay, this is a closeout. We're going to discount it 10% this week, 20% next week, 50% the third week, and we're throwing it out on the 4th week. If you can become friends with somebody who works in those stores and find out what those systems are, you can start looking for the price tag. So for example, if it ends as 97 cents, it means one thing. If it ends in 94 cents, it means something else. And if you can pick these things up on its way to the dumpster, you're going to get it practically for free. The other thing is look up. Again, look at the top. A lot of times there's materials up there that hasn't even been cataloged, so nobody can buy it. Nobody's noticed it. And we picked up a beautiful tile. When the plank tile was just coming out, we picked it up for a fraction of the cost because nobody else knew it was there. Also, if you're willing to go shopping, you can pick up, one of my students picked up cabinets, again, for 10 cents on the dollar, I think. She just had to go to different branches of that same store because they were closing out that particular model of cabinets. She didn't care. It was a small kitchen, and she pieced the whole thing together. So just be a bargain shopper. And then, of course, there's catering. You know, there's stores that cater to a bargaining in materials. So shopping online is awesome. I've used build.com is good. Building.com is another one. Obviously, Facebook Marketplace, the, what do they call it? Habitat for Humanity, the RE restore places. Sometimes you can pick up brand new items for nothing. Auction sites, if you're willing to work with the auction sites like Deal Dash or whatever else is out there. Classified ads, you know, Craigslist is the most famous, but not the only one. There's also something called Free Cycle. And I'm now using Nextdoor. I just bought a perfectly good MacBook Pro small computer. Yes, it's old, but it works perfectly fine. I picked it up for $200 everywhere else, and he sanitized it for me. He cleaned out everything, $200. And then he threw in this big hard drive. So remember that nextdoor.com is a really great place. And then social media, like I said, Facebook Marketplace is the most famous, but you may have other items. And then your own town. Type in your town and type in garage sale or marketplace or something like that, you're going to see a lot of great deals going on there. Now, labor costs. Let's talk about labor because you could spend a whole lot of money here. So you want to interview contractors. Don't be stuck on any one. If you see that bottom one in bold, get 3 quotes. 3, 1, 2, 3 quotes. Even if this is your 5th job and you're used to working with the same team of people, get 3 quotes. Why? Because after a while, these guys think that they have you and they're used to you. And of course you're going to hire them, but you know what? Over time, their prices is going to go up. So interview them. And then you can use internet resources for estimating labor costs in your area. There's one, I believe it's called Home Advisor or one of those. And it will, you put in your zip code and the exact type of job you need. And it'll say, do you want good, better, or best? And they'll come back with quotes for you to use. There's also, look for contractors who are working with investors because you want to tell them, look, I do 3, 5, 10 deals a year. I work with, I'm part of the Real Estate Investor Association here. If you give me a good price, I can pass your name around. You'll never have to advertise again. The vendors here at the RIA, you want to check out with them. But again, as Kathy started off this meeting, when you guys get to meet in person again, it'll be fantastic. Definitely let people know what you're looking for. Most important, get somebody who is licensed and insured, especially for things that, just for everything. But if you're gonna have people go up on your roof, make sure they have workers' comp for their guys. Somebody, God forbid, falls off a roof, guess who they're gonna try to sue? So I don't wanna scare any of you, but and a lot of times I find that the unlicensed people charge just as much as licensed people. And I actually looked at what would workers' comp or liability insurance cost for some trades, and how much is the license? And it was basically an extra $100 a month. And if my feeling is, if a contractor is not willing to invest $100 a month to do this properly, I'm not sure I want to hire them. So that's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. Okay. So that's estimating labor, estimating materials, and walking through the property. Are there any questions yet so far?
No, nothing
Good, we're good on
so
that.
far.
Cool. All right, let's talk about rehab numbers. And this is about really buying, fixing, and selling. A lot of this is going to be similar to buying and holding, so just know that. I apologize in advance for the funkiness of some of my slides. I thought I had fixed them. So if you remember from last week, the rehabbing basics is that you want to pay no more than 68% of the after repair value of the property. And that includes a wholesale fee, includes the cost of your repairs, includes your purchase price, because that 68% makes sure that you have enough money for your holding costs. Now that's a good rule of thumb because you're looking at properties. You want to go quickly. You don't want to waste a lot of time. But when you start getting into it, there's some more details. So I want to go through that right now. So again, turning around properties is based on your net profit. So the after repair value minus the cost of rehab, minus your wholesale fee, minus closing costs, buying and selling, minus your holding costs, and minus your cost of money. That's what's going to give you your net profit. So that's the detail. That's the long math, right? So in school, we learn the short math. We have calculators now, but this is the long math. So take a look at that. So let's get into this. So after repair value, you're going to determine what your property will be worth when you finish renovating it. And I think we talked about that a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Talk to some real estate agents, compare it with some online resources. You might want to, once you get it under contract, you might want to hire an appraiser. Then figure out how much money do you want to make. So I've heard all kinds of calculations that rehabbers do. Some people want to make 15% for the sales price. So if it's a $200,000, you can sell it for $200,000. They want to make sure they're making $30,000, right? Wait, 50, yeah, 30,000. You might want to say, I know some contractors, if they're only making $10, $15, $20,000 on a flip, they don't care. It keeps their guys busy and they're happy. So they may want a fixed amount. And wholesalers take note because when you're building that buyer's list from that form, right, you want to find out what their desired profit is so you know which types of deals to bring to them. And some people like to do $2 for each $1 they invest. So if it's costing them $30,000 a rehab, they want to make $60,000 in profit. So that's another formula. Every person's got their own deal, but you want to find out what it is for you. So the cost of rehab we just talked about, but now let's talk about acquisition costs. A little bit more detail. Some of this, Kathy is going to be the expert, but you might want to, you do get a copy of these slides, but wholesale fee if you want it, real estate agent fee if you have to pay it. So sometimes I signed an agreement recently to buy, I think it was an 8-unit or 15-unit building. The seller had their own agent, and my agent, I have to pay my agent if I'm going to buy it. So of course I build that into the cost. Then there's legal fees, title search, title insurance, recording fees, all those things that, Kathy and other attorneys get. And by the way, it's well worth the money. And then an appraisal or survey. Appraisals are usually around $350 to $500. Survey could cost more, especially if it's rural. But even if it's otherwise, there are a lot of arguments over surveys. So you might want to invest in that. Your inspection. So I used to be all cocky and say, well, I don't need an inspection. I've been doing this for a while. However, it doesn't cost that much, and the tests the results that you can get could be very useful. Even up in Connecticut, I didn't think we had any termites. We have a lot of termite damage. So doing those inspections don't cost very much money. If it comes back bad, you can go back and renegotiate with the seller and say, look, we just discovered this. We didn't know about it. Yes, we waived inspection, but I'll either walk away or you're going to have to give me some money off the price, either way. It's better to know that now. And same thing with the septic system and the well system. You want to get those tested. The other thing is sometimes you can get credits to the seller, especially for rental properties. And so you want to find out about that. Credits to the seller. I'm sorry, my bad. So if you have an oil tank there and it's half full, at the closing, you're going to pay the seller for the oil that's in the tank, right? And sometimes they have to pay for certain repairs for you to buy the property. Sometimes they've already paid property taxes and you have to pay them. Or in this, so usually the buyer has to pay the seller for prepaid taxes, but sometimes the way property taxes are billed, it's done in arrears. And closing I just had, I got a huge credit, which I didn't realize. The seller had to pay for a lot of property taxes. So that was kind of cool for me. And then prepaid taxes and insurance. So when you're buying a property, if you're getting a mortgage, whether it's a hard money or with a regular bank, they may want you to pay property taxes and insurance for an entire year. So that's something for you to consider. So these are what they call acquisition costs. What is it going to cost to acquire the property? All right, now determining the selling costs, there's going to be real estate commissions or other selling costs. Now you say, listen, I'm going to sell it myself. Congratulations, that's really awesome, but you might not. Or you may sell it, but a realtor is bringing you a buyer and they're still going to expect you to pay them probably what, 2.5%, 3%, whatever it is. If you do an open house, or you do an auction, you're still going to have some expenses there. And then whatever it is for North Carolina, Kathy, I forgot to ask you, do you conveyance tax or tax stamps, or what do you call that in North Carolina?
They're called dock stamps in North Carolina.
Okay, cool. And then legal fees we already talked about. So that's going to be on the selling side. So you find the buyer, you're all excited, you're going to the closing, and oops, you got to pay off all these people. So that's something for you to remember too. And then I want you to estimate your holding costs. Now you're lucky because you're not in the Northeast where you don't have property taxes like I have to pay, but you do have some property taxes. So this is the period of time you're buying the property. It's going to cost you 1 to 2 months to fix it up. It's going to cost you 1 to 2 months to find the buyer, another 1 to 2 months for closing on it. That adds up to about 6 months, right? So you're going to be paying these items: property taxes, utilities, especially in the wintertime, or especially when it's super hot in the summer. water, sewer bills, garbage removal, lawn care, insurance. You understand. You want to budget these in and put money aside so that you can pay them along the way so you don't get caught with that. But most people never think about this, and that's why I'm telling you. Now, let's determine the cost of your money. The question here is, let me go back here. It costs money to have money. So sometimes you can use your own savings, and that should cost you 0%. Now, keep in mind, it may cost you 0%, but it's also costing you opportunity costs. That's another time. Like you're losing out on the interest that you could be making on it. Credit card lines of credit, I think we talked about this before. You can get 0% lines of credit still for anywhere from 2 points to 5 points is usually what I pay. And I use those all the time. Just know if it's your personal credit line of credit, it will impact your credit score. Just know that. When you pay it off, it comes back up, but just know that that impacts it. Private lenders, anywhere from 4 to 10% with no points. And usually, I usually negotiate that I don't pay them until I've sold the property. Some of them want us to make some payments, so I can negotiate on the interest that I pay if they need monthly payments or quarterly payments or whatever. And then hard money lenders, I'm sure you have some that advertise at the RIA. They're anywhere from 10 to 18%, and they charge anywhere from 1 to 5 percentage points that I've seen. And all that is paid at the time of the closing. And you also want to find out how much are they going to lend you toward the purchase, how much toward rehab. So a lot of lenders that I've worked with, they'll give you up to 80% of the purchase price and then up to 100% of the rehab. They also have some other hidden fees like inspection fees and just draw fees and things like that. So you really want to sit down and interview your hard money lender. I'm sure at the TRIA that you sometimes have interviews with money people. You want to ask them a lot of questions so you know what to expect. Now, of course, if you have rich Uncle Dave or Aunt Jane and they love you a lot, they'll give it to you for free. But be sure to pay them and declare that. Again, I write things up. I do a mortgage and a note, and I have it on land records, or I keep it with an attorney just to keep everybody honest so that you are paying people back. I think it's important. So here's one more thing about money. You need money when you buy the property, you need money while you're holding it, and you need money at the time of selling. So I know that sounds all complicated, but I'm going to show you in a few minutes a spreadsheet where it's going to really help you keep track of all that. So let me pause here maybe. Are there any questions about costs associated with buy, fix, and sell? Anything I've covered so far? No?
Nope, I don't.
Okay, great.
Nope.
Beautiful. All right, so let's talk about renting. Renting and holding, again, it tends to be my favorite way of doing business, but net cash flow, remember, buy, fix, and sell was all about the profit. How much money are you making? So you're going to get big chunks of change, and you should be making at least $25,000 to $50,000 per rehab. Otherwise, because you have to have some fudge room in the, things can go wrong. So you want to be prepared for that. So if you're not going to make at least $25,000 on a flip, unless it's super, super simple, I would skip it and move on to a better deal or go back and negotiate. Now, renting and holding is all about net cash flow. How much money is going into your bank account each and every month after you've paid your monthly bills, after your mortgage, they call it debt service. After your mortgage is paid, how much money do you have left? Pretty simple, right? So, by the way, many sellers, they'll tell you how much money you can make, but they never take into account how much you have to pay for the debt service. And you always have to pay something. Again, even if you're paying cash, you're still going to have to pay something to keep that money. Now, let's talk a little bit about fair market value. This could be used for both flipping and then also buying and holding. I just take a note of this. This is pretty simple. You don't have to memorize all of it, but basically you want to, look, if you're going to buy a car, you want it in say you're buying a Honda Accord to 2020 or 2019, so it's used. You only want to compare it with other Honda Accords that are from 2019 that have the same kind of package, right? Same thing with real estate. Try to get it within 6 months of being sold. Now this COVID-19 thing started in March. So you're going to have to watch that pretty carefully, and you're going to want to talk to your realtor about this, because we really are still up in the air as to how it's going to impact things. But just know that. You want to know if it's a similar style. So if you have a 2-family and it's side by side, that's more valuable than a first floor and a second floor apartment. Because side by side is like a townhouse, like a condo. It's just, people feel like they have their own space. So that's going to be worth a little bit more. Does it have the similar number of units, similar number of bedrooms, similar rents, similar features, similar square footage? And is the condition the same? If so, that's a pretty good comp. And fair market value is good for 1 to 4 units, okay? Anything more than 4 units, they're going to be looking at the income approach. If they're comparing the income that you're getting from this property, more importantly than like a house where it's similar in value there. Okay. Now, if you're buying a rental property, this is cool. You get to collect all the security deposits. You also get prorated rents. So if you close on the 29th of the month, then guess what? You get let me see, if you close on the 29th, you get the rents that have already been paid for the 30th, 31st, like that. So you may want to close on the 15th, because if you close on the 15th, guess what? You get 2 weeks of prorated rents toward your, to help you with costs. The security deposits are supposed to be transferred from one account to another, but in practicality, it usually just shows up as a credit on your settlement statement. So those are, the other thing is, as we mentioned, like if there's oil in the oil tank, you get credit for that. And these two things, by the way, could add up to thousands of dollars that will really help you in buying this property. And people forget about it, so just make a big note of that. Determine your monthly holding costs. Like we did with the buy, fix, and sell, it's going to be the same, very similar for buying and renting. So similar kinds of things. How much is it going to cost for you to hold on to this property month in and month out? Property taxes, insurance, et cetera, et cetera. One thing that's different, obviously, is landscaping. Cost of repairs. Now, here's something that's, this shows you before and after of this kitchen. And this is a rental property. It's a 2-family that we bought. First of all, you may be able to defer some repairs since you're holding the property. So if you're flipping a property and the roof is 20 years old or 25 years old, you're going to probably want to replace that roof, because any buyer, especially an FHA or VA buyer, is going to want to see a brand new roof. On a buy and hold, you don't have to replace it right away because it's going to be good for another 10 years. And so you can budget that. Same thing with the windows. You may have to replace all the windows in a flip, but on buy and hold, you can replace those over time. Also, you don't have to make it so beautiful, so gorgeous to attract the brand new homeowner. You're renting this out. You want to make it safe, good quality, but doesn't have to be top dollar depending on where you are. Most of our rentals are B and C rentals. A rentals, you're not going to make much money. They charge a lot of money and for their tenant, but it also costs a lot of money. Now, just so you know, these 2 cabinets, left and right, the only ones we replaced was on the upper ones on the left-hand side. We moved the washing machine, dishwasher to the other side for better flow. And we changed the hardware and we changed the countertop. And that's all we did. By the way, a lot of these cabinets came from different cabinet sets. They're not exact match, but they look good all together. And when you tie in the countertops and you tie in the hardware, they look beautiful. And we rent this property. This one is 3 bedrooms. We rent it out with a 2-car garage, $1,500 a month. All right, monthly income. Obviously, this is why you're doing this. You want to find out, what are the current rents being collected? The most popular thing that a realtor will say is, oh, they're only renting it out for $400 a month, but you could really get $500 a month. No, because if they could really get $500 a month and they want to get paid for $500 a month, then they should put in tenants that are, you're getting $500 a month. Use actual rents that are happening right now. So, and that's how you're going to price that property. Now, at the same time, you can look at places like Rentometer or talk to your real estate agent and find out how much rents are going from in that area. And most landlords that have been around for a long time, they never raise their rent. And here's a big hint for you guys. All you have to do once a year is raise your rent $15 to $25 a month. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but it keeps pace with the market. And nobody's going to move for a $15 to $25 a month, maybe even $50, depending on your market. So monthly income. And then your debt service just means mortgage and interest payments. And these are questions you want to ask your whoever's going to lend you money. And especially if you're going to do some creative financing, you may want to find out, is there a balloon payment coming due on the person that you're buying? So you just have to figure that out. And can you get owner financing? Now here's something else that you want to consider on the numbers for rental property is how much you need to have in reserves. And the more properties you have, the more reserves that a bank wants to see. Basically, they're only going to count 75% of your income toward your ability to pay the mortgage. You want to have about 25% in reserves, therefore, and that includes money for repairs, money for vacancy, and then management. So even if you're managing the property, you want to make sure you're paying yourself 8 to 10% of the rents. And by repairs, I mean current repairs, but I also mean reserves so that when the roof has to be replaced, you have a fund ready to go for that. Vacancy is going to depend. If it's a transient neighborhood, you're going to have high vacancy. If you're doing short-term rentals like Airbnb or renting to nurses, there's going to be a lot of empty spaces, so you have to calculate that. On the other hand, if it's a really good neighborhood, really good working class, high-end working class, upper working class, or even middle working class, you're going to have very low vacancy, and maybe you only have to account for 5%. Usually 8% is what you want to ask for. Okay. Next, I want to get into mistakes that rehabbers make. Any questions that I need to address here? Good.
Nope, you're good.
Good. Either you don't have time to write questions or I'm a really good teacher, but we'll go with both of them. All right. If you're a rehabber, and this is true for buy, fix, and sell and buy and hold, consider this. So biggest mistake that rehabbers make is that you pay too much for the property. I buy real estate and I compete with my stepson, and I bought this property. It was beautiful. It was worth $255,000 when it was done. I picked it up for $79,000. He was like mad at me. $79,000, how did you do that? You ripped them off, blah, 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 blah. Nope, I sure didn't, because the amount of work that it took to get that done is what it costs. And he's learning that now as a rehabber. You must make sure that and I know in the beginning it's hard, but if you take these notes and you write this all down when you're meeting with a seller, you can explain to the seller, look, you may think I'm making $100,000 spread on this, but I'm not. Because I have holding costs. I have to pay for the money. I have to pay for the rehab, all of those things. Then they begin to understand it. Very, very important that you understand your numbers, okay? Number 2, bad comparables. You've got to get the best comparables you can possibly get. Try to stay within the very own neighborhood. Don't cross a major highway to get to different neighborhoods. Stay within your neighborhood. Stay within that, if all the houses were built at the same time or in a condo complex. Use those. Those are going to be your best comps. Not doing a thorough preliminary inspection, which is why I walked you through how to do it. You really want to be thorough. Make sure you don't miss anything. Of course, you may miss some things, but that's why we have a fudge factor. Not doing your homework after the contract is accepted and escrowed. So keep processing things, keep interviewing everybody to make sure it's a good job. Rehabbing as if you were going to live in it. This is a big mistake. If you're buying to rent out, people that rehab as if you were going to live in it put things in there that are way too nice and way too expensive, and you will never get your money back. I have a friend who runs a tile store, beautiful ceramic tile. That's what he puts in his apartments. It costs way too much to do it, but he does, you know, he gets higher value, but it's a big mistake. Now, on the other side, if you're buying, fixing, and selling, and you happen to be somebody who loves color, right? That's not very neutral. And you might love the color orange and maroon, and it goes well together. Guess what? That is not neutral. You are cutting out some of your buyers. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind. This is to be as neutral as possible with some character to be able to sell it. Rehabbing the property, you're going to sell retail with the landlord mentality. I had a student and he couldn't sell it, couldn't sell it, couldn't sell it. I walked in there and I knew exactly why. One is staging. He didn't stage it, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But the main thing was his on the main floor, the bathroom vanity was one that I would use for my tenants. It had no character. It was, you know, C class. Nobody's going to spend the kind of money he wanted to spend with that kind of material. You know, same thing with, and a big issue is countertops. Well, I'll get into that in a minute. Trying rehabs the do-it-yourself way. Now, most of you are not qualified to be a contractor. And if on your first couple you want to do a lot of the work yourself, it could be a great learning experience. Just make sure you do it with a contractor who does know what they're talking about, because if you do the do-it-yourself way, you may not do a good job on it. And it can show. It'll just show that way. Also, if you're working 40 hours a week, when the heck are you going to have time to rehab this property? You'll never get around to it. So go hire somebody and let them do it and work, and then do it on the weekend. So not enough money to do the rehab, which is why I just spent a lot of time with you guys on all the costs involved. You want to make sure you have enough money to do the rehab. There are so many properties. We've all walked through these. It got halfway done. You walk in, beautiful outside, maybe one bathroom is done, and then they ran out of money. And now they went into foreclosure, and now you get to pick it up for a song with a lot of the work already done, but they ran out of money. Selling it yourself, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And if you hate dealing with people, this is not the business for you to be in. There are so many people you have to deal with, contractors and realtors and attorneys and inspectors and city inspectors and building inspectors. If you hate dealing with people, this is not the business for you. Get a business partner who will do that for you. I promise you. All right, here's some decisions you're going to have to make. If you love all the HGTV shows, you're going to love this business. So you're going to have to decide what color paint, what color siding, what color cabinets. And this changes all the time. Like I said, you want to be neutral. I mean, this one, when we bought it, was hot pink. And then we changed it all to a neutral color, much more appealing. This is a beige one, in the beige color, Navajo white kind of color. This is in one of the gray colors. And so there's that. Oh, that's better. You're also going to have to decide what kind of style. So my stepson I was telling you about, he uses a lot of brass because he thinks it's timeless and it works in the 55 and older community that he works at, but most people don't use brass. The one advantage is a lot of times you can get brass fixtures for a fraction, because in the end caps that I was telling you about. Are you going to use chrome? Are you going to use brushed nickel? Are you going to replace everything in the house to match? Or are you going to let it flow throughout the house? Are you going to put in crown molding? Sometimes that can really dress up an average house and people don't expect it, and it could add value. You know, so that's something you might want to decide. Are you going to go contemporary or traditional? Are you going to remove popcorn ceilings? That's a big thing that a lot of people want to remove. Please keep in mind that popcorn sometimes has, some material in there that is bad for you. It begins with an A. It's not arsenic, asbestos. So, yeah, sorry. And if you remove it, that's a hazmat issue. So please be careful. On the other hand, some popcorn ceiling is not dangerous. There are artists with popcorn. If you're not an artist with popcorn and you repair one part of the ceiling, it will be obvious. If you hire an artist, I have one guy, he's brilliant. He can match anything. So you want to be careful with that, but you have to decide on that. What quality materials are you going to use? So again, this is, I'll use the same, kind of same picture here. This top one is an apartment rental one that I told you about. By the way, I use Allure flooring, A-L-L-U-R-E flooring for all my rentals. It's a vinyl plank. It stands up. It's really easy to put down. It's really easy to replace. Hint, make sure you have a 1/4 inch all the way around the edges because it does expand and contract and it could be a mess for you. I wish I had pictures of what happened when I did that. But anyway, now obviously this one was a raised ranch and we were going for a higher end in that town. And so we did the stainless steel, we did granite countertops, we did really nice cabinets that we put together ourselves. And so that's the difference, but you're gonna have to decide what you need. Remember at the very first class, I said, it's best for you to get involved with the low end house in the next town over. Because if they're excited to live in that particular town, you don't have to break the bank on your finishes. If, however, this is the high end of a lower class town, you are going to have to spend more money on finishes to attract the person to live in that town to buy your house. Hope that makes sense. Okay. I want to talk about some mistakes that a lot of people make. What is really wrong with this rehab? In this one, you have to look at, is the house too small or too big for this particular neighborhood? This neighborhood had a lot of these cape, we call them cape houses. Somebody knocked down the cape and built this humongous house right there. Did not fit the neighborhood at all. They did sell it, and it does have views of the beach, which is nice, but you can get in trouble with that. Sometimes you're going to want to take down a couple of walls to open it up, but make sure you're not risking the integrity of the structure. And you're making the living room a lot bigger, or last week I think I showed you opening up the dining room into the kitchen so you have open floor plan. This one we started off with this wall that really broke up the whole entire living room. We took it down and replaced it with just this one little thing. I don't know if you can see my picture. And then we ended up with this. We kept one wall, but we took down the middle wall. Now, on your first rehab, I'm sure the ladies on this call can concur. Your very first rehab, you're going to want to make it look like you're on television. You will be wasting a lot of money, and it's hard to determine. So, but these are the main things that will get you money. Curb appeal, to get people inside. If your house looks ugly, they're never coming inside. The bathrooms, the kitchens, the finishes, and the systems, they don't expect to pay for systems, they just expect to be there. So if your furnace looks really crappy and rusty, if your AC is on its last leg, they're not gonna buy it. So, and I know you can do these home warranties, sometimes that helps. This one, we kept all the cabinets in place, all we did was paint them, put in new countertop, and we put in new hardware. You definitely need to have the right kind of painter to do it because it could take forever, but we saved a lot of money on cabinets. And this was like a lower end townhome that really spruced it up, and it sold super fast. Why is selling so fast important? Well, if you add up all your holding costs, taxes, insurance, interest, that's just a few of them. This one property is costing $688 a month. So every month that you hold the property, it's costing you $688, which means that money should be going into your pocket. So you want to talk to your real estate agent for that town. What is the days on market? And is it going up? Is it going down? It's very possible the days on market are going to go up, which means your holding costs are going to go up. So you need to keep that in mind. Also, a lot of people like to get into the new house before the school starts, assuming we have school. So you want to time that. How much more profit could you make when you sell the house in 1 or 2 months instead of 4 months? Here's a couple things that I really recommend, and every real estate agent will tell you that, and it is not just marketing BS. It is for real. If you price your property correctly, it will sell fast. If you price it too high, it will sit there, and you'll have to lower the price anyway. And now people think there's something wrong with it. So get 3 real estate agents to tell you what the value of the property is. You may want to have your property appraised so that you know going in how much it will appraise for. You could tell the real estate agents, look, I want to get this thing under contract in the next 30 days. What do I have to price it at? And start there, okay? So that's really super important. And and also the other thing I found, usually the first offer is your best offer. Whatever your first offer is, unless there's 2 or 3 coming back to back, that first offer, do what you can to negotiate as high as possible with that first offer. If they need some repairs done, maybe you make those changes. But I've been burned, and so have my students gotten burned over and over and over again when they don't take that first buyer. That's just my hint. You could talk to the local folks here. Curb appeal. Remember I talked to you about water? I didn't even notice this one. I noticed a lot of things when I bought this house, but see, here's the 2-car garage. It looks like a barn, right? Anyway, I didn't notice that there was no pathway to the front door. I also didn't notice that this was all mud and gravel and had never been dealt with. My contractor noticed it. I had a budget for putting a deck in the backyard, and what we decided was that it was much more important to improve the front and the curb appeal. Look how much nicer this is. This sidewalk now goes to the sidewalk comes right down to here. No more mud in this area. Beautiful round curved steps that go right up to the front yard. Totally changed the curb appeal. It was amazing. On this one, we changed the windows. We did a lot of things. Also, this sounds basic. Even with rentals, maybe especially with rentals, clean, dust, sweep. When somebody's showing the house, turn on the lights, open up the windows, make sure it feels airy for people. And the other thing is staging your house. You do not have to spend a lot of time on it. Let me read this to you, but many buyers cannot envision an empty house with furniture. They are used to seeing the big reveal on television, decorating, on those television decorating shows. The main thing is that rooms look smaller without furniture, and staging will distract the buyers from any imperfections. So I want to talk to you just a minute about this. This room here, I think was 8 by 10. This is a 4-family that I totally rebuilt from start. And when I did 3 open houses, no, I did 1 open house, got no applications. I got the next open house, no applications, which was crazy. This place is beautiful. Then I put furniture in. I put a queen size bed. I put a dresser. By the way, all this was bought on Craigslist. We just sanded it and painted it. When you take it all apart, it fits in the back of a pickup truck. I take it from property to property. As soon as we put that in there, all of a sudden the people could see, oh, this room is big enough for my queen size bed and my dresser and an end table. And the next week, I think we got 75% applications. It was crazy. The other thing is, remember I told you about that student of mine who put in a vanity that was part of an apartment and he got no offers? It's because it was totally empty. And when you're standing inside an empty house, what can you see? All the different imperfections. Every imperfection on the window and the paint and the floor, everything. When you have furniture like this, one of my friends, she got a kitchen tile and she realized halfway through that the tile was the same, but it came from different lots. And so it was slightly different. So when they laid it down in an empty room, you could tell the difference. So she told her designer, make this kitchen, stage it so that people are looking up and not looking down. And she got multiple offers. Makes a huge difference. Finally, should you hire a realtor or sell it yourself? This is a big thing. I have found over the years that realtors earn their pay. You can try it for a week or 2. You could try some of these listing places where they'll put it on the MLS for $300 and then you sell it. But I found over and over again, and I didn't used to believe this, but I found over and over again that realtors, they take the emotion out of it. They find higher priced buyers. They manage the contracts. They manage the attorneys, the good ones. I just recommend you get the best selling realtor for your price point in that town. So if you're selling a house for $200,000, find the best selling realtor who sells houses from $150 to $250 in that town, because they have all the buyers, they have all the connections, and you'll find the best. Okay, rental properties, what time is it? Okay, so I have a little bit of time. I did talk about this briefly, that rentals have income, depreciation, equity, build-up, appreciation, and leverage. Here's what's really important, because I already talked to you about the numbers. Here's what's really important. You must have a system. This is a business and not a hobby. I just talked to this woman yesterday. She's probably going to lose her property because she had a tenant in there for several years, did not track this tenant. This tenant was a hoarder and did also did some really horrible things. Now she's stuck with this house with dog pee everywhere. She's going to have to rip up the floors. She's behind on payments for a year and a half, and she's going to lose it. And it could have been avoided if she had a system. So you have to have a system for finding and screening tenants, a system for managing repairs ongoingly throughout the year, a system for collecting rent, especially in these times with this COVID and this pandemic. You have to have a system for collecting rent, and the professional managers, people that know what they're talking about, they're getting very high collection rates. The ones that don't know what they're doing are being taken advantage of. You have to have a system for raising rents every year, like I mentioned, and you want to have a system for advertising and renting your units super fast and for more than anybody else is renting them for. I always rent mine for the top dollar, usually 10% more than anybody else's, because it's much easier to get high paying tenants in the beginning than having to jump up your rents a lot every year. So this is a business, not a hobby. So you got to make sure of it. All right, let's talk about action. Oh, by the way, are there any questions, Kathy or Jackie or Leslie?
Yes, Linda, we have
Oh.
a question. Can you state, let's see, sorry, 1 to 3 action steps for a newbie to take to get started today, please?
Great question. Hang on, we're gonna get to that in just a moment.
All right.
Yeah. So this is my progress, and this is probably typical progress for a lot of people. The first property we bought was a 3-family house because up in the Northeast, there are many of them. The family would live on the first floor, and then aunt and uncle on the second floor, and parents on the third floor, or vice versa. But also works really well for renting. So for years, how we built our empire was to rent the first floor for us, and then we have the tenants paying rent, and so I never had to pay for my living expenses. Really wonderful stuff. And I find this more and more important. As you can tell, it's my soapbox. Have at least 1 or 2 rental properties, because if you lose your job, if you have a rental property, you won't lose your home. So way back when, 35, 40 years ago, my first partner, she had a 2-family house. She decided one day to quit her business for whatever reason. But the tenant was paying enough rent to cover the mortgage, so she didn't lose her home. So very important. So we owned a 3-family house. We moved out of that house and bought another one and we were able to get a 15-year mortgage because when I moved out from the first floor, we had a new tenant in there, and I had enough extra cash flow to do that 15-year mortgage instead of 30 years. After a few years, we had built up enough equity that we were able to take that equity and buy a condo. So we got a home equity line of credit, and we bought a condo. And I expect condos are going to become really cheap in the next year or 2. You buy a condo, it cash flowed $300 a month for 1.5 years. We sold it with a $25,000 profit. No money out of my pocket because I got it all from the house. Then I took some money and I lent it to a friend of mine who bought a condo, and he paid me 12% interest. From there, I started buying 3 multifamily houses, and then we moved to a beach. And we have a little beach house. And actually now we're in Atlanta, we have a nice condo here. And our rentals pay for all that. So it's pretty simple that way. So that's it. So what do you want? We're going to get to the steps you're going to take, but what do you want? And you may want to write this down. Just take a moment. What do you want? Why are you here over the next 3 to 12 months? Some of you just want security. Some of you want to replace your income. Some of you want to homeschool your kids. So that's what we want to figure out. So let's move into let's pull all of this together now. Okay, everybody together now. Here we go. So the next 3 steps is actually going to be kind of 7 steps, but you'll see. I'm going to walk you through how to write up these offers and cash your first check in 30 days or less. Now, I know that's exciting, and that's mostly on the wholesaling side. if you don't get your first check in 30 days, but you get it in 90 days, if you replace your income, start replacing your income. I have one student, she now owns 3 condos. She's making $1,300 a month. That's not enough to buy a Lamborghini, but guess what? It does allow her to start working toward retirement or be able to leave her job if she needs to. And I'm going to show you how to write those checks. But first, I really want you to understand why I care and why your board members really care and why they're doing this. But they're all successful in their own business. Kathy's an attorney, you know, Chuck has his business, Jackie and Leslie rehab properties. But why we care is that we want to help other people be successful like us. And what we found is that over and over again, people say, I wish I found you first. People come to us who've spent $50,000, $20,000, $100,000 on coaching programs, and they all said, I wish I found you first. This is why I do this. I ran into this gentleman who was an old student of mine, and he said, you have no idea how many people you have helped. I get to spend so much time with my daughter, unlike all of my friends, due to the freedom I get from real estate. So he had a 6 or 7-year-old daughter. He could go to all of her school activities. My friend Joy, she's an artist. And because of real estate, she can focus on her painting. She fosters teenagers, and she's going to just live her life. And this is, by the way, one of her before and after photos. Your RIA is the best place to start. I know a lot of you are already members, but I want to reinforce that this is the best place for you to be because you have local people who understand local laws and the market, and to build your entire team, which you're going to learn about. But they're also super busy. Jackie's coordinating a rehab an hour and a half away from home. So they asked me to codify all of this information for you. And just a little bit about me, I think you've known a lot, but I'm an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, probably for 30, 35 years. I'm a real estate investor. I love to teach. I love to coach, love to be a consultant. That's kind of my real thing. But real estate is my access to get to all of it. I've done single family houses, multifamily houses, just so you know, street cred. And I'm going to be sharing with you that the Jumpstart Real Estate Investing online program, and it's not for naysayers. So if you think things are never going to change, that don't even bother. But if you want to change, if you have a passion for real estate, if you want to have your own business, if you want to choose your own financial destiny, because our tax code reinforces and reimburses you for having your own business. If you love the big reveal, then you want to stick around for me, because we've created a system that's going to be really good for everybody. Of course, disclaimer, not everybody does what I tell them to do, so not everybody makes money. But anyway, hopefully you will. I believe this could be the best time since 2008 to get involved. We're not exactly sure what's going to happen, but right now you have super low interest rates. Unfortunately, I never like to take advantage of people, but unfortunately, there's a lot of unemployment. We hope those people are going to get their jobs back. But unfortunately, some people are going to lose their homes or are going to have to move out of the rental. And if you learn the right ways, you're going to leave people with their dignity and their ability to move on with their lives. You're going to deal with a lot of people who don't know how to manage their properties, and that's why you're here. So we've kind of talked about this already. I'm going to put things all together for you here. So this is like a wholesale deal. Mike took this program that I'm about to tell you about. He sent out a couple postcards, and a lender called him up, a hard money lender, that he had to foreclose on a property. And then Mike found the contractor, and by hooking up the contractor with a hard money lender, he got an assignment fee of $10,000, and that was a week after he finished the program. Can I guarantee that? No, but some of you may know this. It may be in the same situation. I used to be laid off all the time back in the 80s, and I was afraid that I'd have to work as a Walmart greeter. Nothing wrong with that job, but I didn't want to do it. So I started selling health insurance, and I realized that tenants pay residual income, and so that's how I learned to do this. This is all the different things that you can do. We talked about this at session number 1. Maybe it's now going to make sense for you. Whatever your heart is, and whatever your skill set is, you can find a way to make money in real estate. And it's the only business I know that anyone can succeed. I don't care what your background is, what circumstances you have, smart, not smart, rich, poor. Women are on parity with men in this business. whatever you want to do. And just about every wealthy person has real estate in their portfolio, so we want you to do it. So this was steps 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to bring the whole program together, all 3 sessions. Number 1, you're going to do your marketing. So remember, we talked about these 3 things. So step 1, if you're brand new at this, pick one of these methods: driving your neighborhood, calling people, or online searching. Pick one, and then take action every day to find properties of people that want to sell. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, once you find one of those, you're going to estimate repairs, just like we talked about this evening. And even if you don't know anything, you take lots of pictures, you take lots of notes, then you go to somebody who does know how to estimate repairs and get them to help you estimate repairs, because obviously you're going to hire them, right? So that's, you don't have to spend all the time to learn construction. Just write down, do the best you can, and get somebody to go along with you. Next, you're going to calculate the value, which we talked about back in session number 1, and we did a little bit tonight. Figure out what this property is worth when you have fixed it all up. That's number 3. Number 4, you're going to calculate your offer. And then, so as a review, your buy, fix, and sell, you're going to take the after repair value, you're going to subtract these things and come up with a number. Or you can use a spreadsheet or a calculator. Spreadsheet is very easy. You're going to calculate all your holding costs for the buy and rent. Then you're going to find money. By the way, you should be finding money every single week. And you could get bank loans. Bank loans are available now. Hard money is available. Private money. Private money is private people. Your doctors, your dentists, your attorneys. By the way, the people that you think have no money, that they do have money. They look like they don't have any money because they don't spend it, but it's there under their mattress or in their bank account, savings account. And you can offer them, 6 to 12% on money that I have to laugh. There's some commercial right now that says, we can open up an account with you in 15 minutes and we're going to pay you 5 times the national average. Well, if the national average is 0.5%, that's only 2.5%. Think about that. And we're paying more, and it's secured by real estate. Please know that if you're going to borrow money privately, use an attorney, because there's rules and regulations you have to do. As we talked about credit cards, you could do that. You could go do an installment loan from various sources, or you could just wholesale the contract. Cost you no money, $100 to put something under contract and then assign the contract and get 10 grand. Why not? And then, so once you've done those, now you're going to make your offer. Now, Kathy's going to cringe in a moment, but the bottom line of a contract has this. There's a date. There's a property address. There's the seller's name and address. There's the buyer's name and address. There's the price you want to pay for it. There's your down payment. And then you're going to put by when you're going to close on this, and then everybody signs everything. And that is a contract. There's
Actually, Linda, I'm not cringing at all. I think it's the realtors who will cringe. When people ask me, that's what I tell them. To have a valid contract, you need 4 things. The identification of the property, names, a sum certain, and a date. If you have those 4 things, you have a valid and binding contract. I'm a big fan of keeping it simple, so I'm with you.
All right, awesome. That is great. The house that I live in now, I filled out on a piece of paper following this. I brought my friend who is a notary. She notarized it just in case. And then I went out to celebrate and I spilled coffee on that contract, but it was still valid. And I live in that house today. So, so keep that really simple. Now, there's lots of ifs, ands, or buts you can always add to it, but that's the bottom line of it. You can wholesale your contract. So remember we talked about, you just are putting the house under contract for, you have to put down something, $100, $1,000. You have to put down something, and then you have to be prepared to buy it yourself, okay? That's the legitimate way. And then if you have a huge buyer's list or your key buyer's list, you'll be able to wholesale or assign it to somebody else for anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000. As I mentioned to you, this one I talked about at the first class. The bird dog that brought it to me, he made 3 grand. I made 10 because I found the buyer, I found the attorney, I kept everything together during that time. Now the rehabber made their big money because they had the most risk and put in the most money. and that's wholesaling. What could you do this money? And then last, cash the checks. This is my favorite part, of course. You know, I get paid every single month from my tenants. They pay, you know, over the times we change, sometimes now we're using, anyway, I don't want to get into that, but people pay. There's all kinds of electronic services now. You could get a bid cash at closing. We're selling something tomorrow, a 55 and over condo. We're selling that tomorrow. We're going to get a check tomorrow, or a wholesale fee, cashing checks, right? And then last, you want to rinse and repeat. As you can tell, my forte is really breaking down complicated concepts into really simple, easy steps that you can repeat, that you can do. So I want to remind you, it's just going to take a minute to go to this website, rebrand.ly/Tria Jumpstart. Okay, rebrand.ly/Tria Jumpstart. And again, why I partnered up with Tria is because we don't have time at every single meeting to go through all of these different concepts. And we want you to understand this, but we also don't want you to have to spend $10, $15, $25, $50, $100,000 for learning this language. So I'm going to show you when you go to that website. Let me just go to here. When you go to the that Rebrandly website, you're going to get to this site here. If I can move these things. It's very simple, and I'm a very simple person, but here's what you're getting. You're getting all kinds of spreadsheets. You're getting a spreadsheet for analyzing a rental property. You're getting a spreadsheet for analyzing a buy, fix, and sell. And that includes all of the money you're going to need all along the way. You're also going to get a calculator for estimating costs of repairs. And in there, I've embedded links to all those calculators I was telling you about, so you can find out how much materials you need, how much is labor going to cost. It's all built into the spreadsheet, so it's all in one place. I also give you sample documents. I teach you how to find your team. I have Rolodexes. I have a buyer's questionnaire. I have a seller's questionnaire. I have a motivated seller's questionnaire. I have all kinds of flow charts for you. And it's only going to be $349. $349 for a program that honestly, you know, there's lots of programs out there for at least $1,000. But because we're partners with Tria, and I came from the Connecticut RIA, which I founded and ran for 15 years, I really want to support the local RIA because I fully believe you're going to get the best information about your local market from them. They really care about you and they want to help you. Once you sign up for the course, you'll get sent a username and a password, and you just log in, and you this is what the course looks like. There's 12 modules. You can either navigate from up here with the lesson page, or you can navigate here. If you go to this first one, there's a video. You can, here's a video that you can watch right here. Each video is 15 to 30 minutes. You can start and stop whenever you want to. You can also download the audio and download the slides as a PDF. But I've also included a manual. I think it's a 121-page manual. So for those of you who like manuals, you just download it, print it out on your printer, or download it to your, tablet or whatever you want to use, and you can read everything. And then so it goes into so much detail, is all I want to say, and very easy to navigate. As you can tell, everything is downloaded as PDFs and the Excel spreadsheets. I want to go to by the numbers flipping. So I talk a lot about what we talked about tonight. Then I give you an acquisition spreadsheet. It is a little complicated at first. Please don't get blown away, and I'll take any feedback and we can make something simpler. But what I love about this is it helps you calculate how much money do you need when you buy the property, how much money you're going to need while you're holding it, and how much money you're going to have to come up with at the end. And then we calculate what your profit is, and we compare it to that 68% of ARV. And you'll see, oh, I'm paying too much on materials. Maybe I need to downgrade that. Maybe my purchase price is too high. Maybe I can figure out how to sell it for more. You're going to find out all of this. And I have a little explanation here. It takes about 10 or 15 minutes to explain how to work it.
Well, hey there, this is Linda Baumgarten. And in this video, I want to go through a spreadsheet.
I hope you like the sound of my voice because you're going to hear it a lot. And you can either navigate by going to this one, to the next, or the previous, or you can always go back up to the top. I recommend, as you can tell, we do the same thing with the rental. The rental spreadsheet is much easier to go through. And the rehabbing one goes through the, let me see, I forget what that one is. And then the wholesaling one, we have all kinds of contracts that you can use. Kathy's going to look at it. There may be some unique to North Carolina that she's going to get to me, so as part of you. I spent a lot of time about how to sell your property and how to stage it. And then also that rental system that I talked about, that's, we go through all of that. And then at the end, there's a roadmap. And the roadmap is, look, some of you are beginners. Some of you have been doing this for 25 years and you're just getting back into the market. And so wherever you're at, we have some action plans to help you identify that. And I also have some goal setting exercises, your roadmap to success. So first level, second level, third level, you know, we just keep on going up. So if you do that, I'm all about taking action. I am definitely not about, you know, just learning too much. So it's really now up to you. You know, if you found this valuable, if you like the way I break things down, the woman who won the contest last week, she says, you know, it's really specific and well explained and all of that, and that's the way she thinks also. So that's good to hear. So you just want to visit rebrand.ly/Tria Jumpstart. It's only $349. If you make even $5,000, just $5,000 in your first wholesale deal, you're making a 15% return. And as a bonus, I'm going to schedule a bonus session for all of you who invest in this program. It'll be, again, on a Thursday night, sometime in June. I'll work that out with the TRIA, give you enough time. And I'd recommend that you listen to all of the modules first and then go back through one at a time. Because if you go through all of them, you'll hear the whole, I have this whole flow chart so you understand the whole business of real estate investing. And so if you do go through all of it, it takes about 5 hours off and on, and then go focus in on one thing at a time. It'll straighten everything out. So let's see, I think that's, yeah. And then what you're gonna do is once you find those deals, you're going to go back to TRIA and they're going to help you find those deals. If you put something under contract, they're going to help you they know lots of people in the group. They know who would want to buy in that town. And then if there's any technical issues, you'll contact TRIA, they'll contact me and we'll get it worked out. So it's very, very thorough. It's very simple to follow. And I really hope you get involved. This is why I created this thing a couple years ago. We really want to help you make lots of money. That is the point. So. Q. Any questions that I can answer?
Yes. How can you be prepared to buy it yourself if you have no money or credit as a wholesaler? I think that question is to when you said if you don't assign it, you have to be prepared to buy it.
Correct. So, yeah. So that's a good point. That's why you want us to start right now, finding people that want to make money. In the wholesale chapter, there's a buying questionnaire, and in the marketing section, I give you ideas for finding people that can buy these things. And you could partner up with somebody who does have money. If you're buying at 50 cents on the dollar, you could get hard money for it. You know, so you want to be prepared for all of that, and don't be afraid to swing out.
And hard money is part of what you get from networking in TRIA. If you found a deal and you're not sure, go on the networking page and ask for it. We have a lot of hard money lenders who are TRIA members.
Yeah, perfect. So, I mean, that is huge. So I mean, I'm stretching myself in this regard too. I'm going after making offers on buildings that I've never thought that I could afford before. But if you buy them at the right price, you can find money at 10%. And if you're buying it if like I said, 50 cents on the dollar, and there are so many people right now that have lots of money. So just because you're broke doesn't mean that your neighbor is broke. And that's what is a mindset thing. So coming to these meetings is super important. Getting out there and talking to your local networking events, and then just letting everybody and anybody know what you're doing. A friend of mine, one of my students, she's now a friend of mine, she went on LinkedIn, and all she did was change her title to real estate investor. And somebody she had known from 20 years ago contacted her and said, "We'd like to lend for you." Okay, great. And they started off with a small amount of money, But by the end, she's borrowed over $3 million from that one family. $3 million from one person she hadn't contacted in over 20 years. So just let everybody know, be careful what you're saying. Just let people know I'm investing in real estate. I'm looking at these properties. If you're into Instagram and TikTok and all these things that I don't really know how to use, as you're driving for dollars, you can say, hey, I'm out here driving for dollars. And I really like this house because it's, you know, the rest of the neighborhood is beautiful, but this one needs some, you know, love. Or this house is way too big for the, just be careful, don't insult anybody. But you understand you're out there and you're talking to people and you're letting people know what you're doing. The more you do that, people will start contacting you. What other questions do you have?
Does the $349 tuition include coaching?
So it does not, no, it does not involve coaching. Here, that is why I'm setting up the bonus session and probably in about a month, so that you can go through the material and ask questions.
Coaching costs $10,000, y'all. You aren't going to find a coaching and a $349 course. This is a fantastic deal.
Yes, it gives you all the education. It's like when you go to see your doctor once a year. If you don't know your body well enough to explain what's going on with your body, your doctor can't really help you that much. The more education and training you have, and the more you get out there and you start analyzing these deals, use the spreadsheets, use the scripts that are included, you'll start getting into the game. And you'll stumble across a deal. And then you go to your TRIA and they'll start helping you, because if they can partner with you on it, or, you know, look, even if you only made $500 because you found a deal and somebody else wants to buy it, $500 is more than what you had yesterday. And for many people, that's more than working 40 hours in a week. So just build your education and all that. That's why you've priced it at $349. And it's tax, you know, it's tax deductible as a write-off. I'm not an accountant, but assuming that you're in the business, it's a write-off. What else you got there?
That's all we got.
Wow. Okay.
If anyone has a question, go ahead and put it in the chat right now and we will get it to Linda and she will answer it for you. But I would have to say, Linda, you must have done such a great job that they didn't even have any questions.
Great job. Great job. Thanks, Linda.
I'm getting some comments saying it was awesome and great job. Oh, here's a question. How can we look up other people on the TRIA main website like the hard money lenders? You can't do that, Jabika. What you need to do is go to Facebook and join our Triangle Real Estate Investors Association networking page. You can post there that you're looking for hard money lenders. Also, Jabika, if you will send an email to triaprojects@gmail.com, we will send you some guidelines. You can make a member spotlight video. And in that video, you can tell that you are looking for hard money, and we will play that at every meeting, just like the one you saw for Roxana tonight. And as well, we are working on getting a Zoom networking meeting. It takes a little doing, but we're working on that. Another question. You used to be able to see a tree. Yeah. No, sorry. No more questions, Linda. Do we need to buy now?
Well, sure. Why not? I mean,
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, I'm not going to play the game. Hey, if you don't buy tonight, it'll be twice. I just am not that kind of a person. It's $349. You get 30-day money back guarantee. If you get into it and you don't think it's worth anything, just let me know and we'll refund your money. But I've never had anybody do that. I've been teaching this program for close to 20 years. And people have become, I have one guy, his name is Russ, and he used this as his basis to start buying, buy, fix, and sell properties. And now he makes, you know, like $250,000 a year at least, just from this course. Then once he started taking action, of course, he invested in other education. I'm always investing in my education and training. But I will tell you, just having these spreadsheets alone, just even having, if you start advertising, you put out signs or you run a little Craigslist ad or something, and getting the scripts for how to advertise, but then somebody calls you and you're like, what am I supposed to say? Well, there's a questionnaire. You just ask the questions and they're going to respond. And then you just go from there. And It's totally,
Linda, just so you know, the person who asked that buy now question followed up saying she is currently has 2 more courses, so she wants to wait a bit.
yeah. No, I understand. I understand. I'm joking. You can, it's, it's now part of the TRIA course offerings. And, but, if you can, I would take action for it and, just get started as soon as you can. No insult to anybody, no pressure. I just hope that it's really valuable for you. And I know that it's been valuable for thousands of people over the past 20 years.
Well, certainly if these 3 installments are any indication, it's very valuable.
Good. Cool. Great. Any other questions at all?
Let me see here. Oh, someone's saying they're going to buy, so that's good.
That's cool. Call it investing in yourself. You're investing in your
Yeah.
education and training. Yes, absolutely.
Definitely an investment in yourself, but because this is, the first step and how you get started. And then the next step is you just go out and find a deal. And the next step is you network in TRIA, whether it's back when we're live or whether you make a member spotlight video or whether you get on that Facebook page.
Get on Facebook page.
On Facebook, that page is so active, y'all. Look, it was 100 people back in February and it's around 800 now. So there's tons of people on there to network with. They're doing deals, and all I can say is it's the next best thing. It ain't nothing like face-to-face. And for that, I'm sorry, but we're not allowed to do that right now. So we are really, really trying to do the next best thing. And it's working, but in order for it to work, you have to take the steps and get involved and reach out, make the effort. Go on that Facebook page, even if you don't have a need or anything right now. Get on there and read what other people are posting and comment and get known and get to know people. Take Linda's course. You will be investing in your future, like Linda said. And when people on that Facebook page ask questions, you will be able to answer them. That's how people get to know you, and they, get to know your expertise, and they'll partner up and do deals with you, and they'll lend money to you. It's a lot about putting yourself out there.
Hey, Kathy, maybe you want to put the Facebook link or at least the name of it, because I always get lost in Facebook. So you might want to put that in the chat box.
I'm going to post it to everyone here right now. All right, so I just posted the Facebook networking page. I'm also posting the email address. Use this email. Sorry, I can't type and talk at the same time. I'm not that coordinated. This email address, if you have ideas, suggestions for courses, anything you'd like to see, because we are actively looking for new things to provide you, because we've spent the last 3 years restructuring TRIA to a different format so that we can offer more, better, dynamic programming. So we're interested in your ideas. Or if you want to make a member spotlight, which will play for all of our meetings, you can tell people what you're looking for, talk about yourself. Send an email. We'll send you the guidelines for making that.
I can't tell you, how important it is to be part of the RIA. Think of this as the Chamber of Commerce for real estate investors. It's a place where you're going to get reliable information about how to do business in North Carolina, how to work with the laws that are here, how to work with building inspectors and just anything that comes up. Kathy and I, a couple of years ago, had a really interesting conversation about how to structure certain creative financing, owner financing deals that doesn't work in Connecticut, but you guys use something different than we did in Connecticut. So, and then if you need a contractor, you could get ripped off by a contractor, or you could find the contractor that 3 other rehabbers are using, and you can get involved with their pricing. And especially if you can put together your own scope of work now that you're educated.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You have taken the first step. You have joined TRIA. But now that, that you can't just join and sit there and wait for things to happen. You have to take full advantage of your membership. So all these things we're telling you are tools for you to use. Get involved, get known, get your name out there. That way, when you have a project and you post it on that Facebook page, someone's going to say, oh, that's Jamika. I've seen her commenting on there. She is really active, and I'm going to want to do business with her. I mean, it's the best way you can network right now.
And you take full advantage of this, because when we get back to quote unquote life is normal, you'll start going to lots of meetings and engagements and things for your kids and whatever. You're home now. So take advantage of this time to really train yourself and educate yourself. You'll be really glad that you did. That's all I've been doing for the past 2 months.
So someone in this room has just taken advantage of what we're talking about, because William Anthony just posted on the networking page that he's looking for a hard money lender. So there you go.
Nice.
It's working.
Yay, good job, William.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone have anything else? Otherwise, we'll wrap this up. Linda, is there anything final comments you want to make?
Well, if once you get to the sign-in page, if you have any questions or whatever, just write to Tria. They'll get a hold of me right away. I'm happy to help. And yes, it's not coaching, but we're not abandoning you. So if you have a specific question about the material, I will respond. If you have questions about analyzing deals, you're going to go back to the local folks. So we're not abandoning you. It's just not, we're not going to hold your hand. It's not as intense as coaching. This is going to give you the foundation, just like any house needs to have a strong foundation or it will crumble. This will give you the strong foundation you need to be successful in this business. And it's been a real pleasure for the past 3 weeks. I've been retired from teaching for a year and a half. It was so fun getting to teach again, and looking forward to meeting you even through Zoom. So thanks so much, and everybody have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Linda. It was
Thanks,
great
Linda.
to have you here.
You were
Just in
awesome.
case we have any hard money lenders on the call, Michael Ollison is looking for a lender that will lend him $30,000 with a 5-year term, 10% interest, paid monthly.
There you go.
There you go.